We are over 20 games of Chicago Bulls basketball and is getting started in December, and we know what's about to crank up the trade phone. But on today's episode, we got to talk about a tough one. Are the Chicago Bulls willing to trade away Coby White or Ayo Dosunmu? And I'm going to talk about some other challenges as that will come up as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. And then we got a matchup today versus the Brooklyn Nets. Y'all know we're going to talk about it all, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first. Cognac, gang. Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. If you tuned in with me for the first time, welcome in. Hit that like button and subscribe. To our returning family members, welcome back in to another great show. Y'all, it is brick outside. Y'all ain't tell me coming back to the Midwest was going to be brick outside. It's brick outside. It's Scully season. I'm happy to start wearing my Scullies again. So y'all make sure y'all throw y'all Scully on and bundle up. It's cold as hell outside in the Midwest. I'm just saying it's different around these times from when I was down in the South. But nonetheless, let's talk about these Chicago Bulls. Are the Chicago Bulls willing to trade away Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu, or one or the other? Are they willing to put one of those guys in a trade package? It's one of those tough decisions that we got to come to terms to and talk about. Because me, personally, I love Coby White. I love Ayo Dosunmu. These are some young pups that I seen drink Similac, and now they trying to hand over and ask for a bottle of cognac. This is what these young fellas are doing. We seen them into this league, enter our Chicago Bulls at a very young age, come out, do some things well, kind of drop off, and then just kind of been on a steady rise for the last year or so for both of these young players. At one point, I recall a lot of us asking for Coby White to be traded anyway. Ayo Dosunmu, what has he been doing? That's what we was asking last season before we seen all these guys start to come back and elevate themselves and become better players to the players that they are today. And it's a tough decision because you gotta look at the front office and see how do they come and approach this trade deadline that's set in February. We know the phones are gonna start ringing. We know that things are gonna start being leaked out there into the NBA stratosphere to see who's going to be traded, who's interested, who's on the trade block, who's considered untouchable. So it's a tough decision for both of these players and the Chicago Bulls simply because these are your guys. This is your product. You know what I'm saying? Do you have the belief that Coby White can elevate one more time, take a step up to and go up to another level? Do you believe that Ayo Dosunmu is one of those guys that you could just plug and play? Or do you see him as a starter of the future for your Chicago Bulls? Do you see that? That's what makes the decision a lot more difficult because Coby White, he's built himself out to be a solid player. A lot of people has been, not so much of a fan of him this year, but I would say that I'm still proud of Coby White. He can be better this season, but I'm happy of where he is right now. The man has been balling in certain games. You want to see a little bit more consistency out of that. But so far, Coby White has, molded himself out to be a solid player with the potential of getting even better, but that's all going to be placed on him. And then when you talk about Ayo Dosunmu, you talking about the guy that came into the Chicago Bulls and was thrown into the fire because Lonzo Ball was injured. We had this young guy out there balling, right there with the guys, learning on the fly, just kind of be who he was. And we seen a lot of things. We did see some type of step back, but man, did he bounce back. And then I wouldn't even really say it was a letdown because at last season, yes, he started off rough, but as you go and look at the statistics, each and every single month, my man's was improving. And with more responsibility came more production out of Ayo Dosunmu. That's why the decision becomes a lot more tougher. And these players hold significant value. significant value in this regard. We're talking about Coby White, young player, only 24 years of age, 1 year left on his contract at $2.8 million. And I'm not talking about this year. We're talking about this year and an additional year next year, that if he was to look at Coby White's situation for $12.8 million a year, that add values to a player of his caliber. The same thing could be said about Ayo Dosunmu as well. 25 years of age, 1 year left on the contract, not including the year that he's currently playing in. And guess what? For a guy that comes out and defends, a guy that is a nightmare in transition, a guy that has improved his three-point shot, he's only making $7.5 million in his last year. So when you look at both of those players, you talk about age, you talk about how they play, you talk about the different things that they can bring to a team, you talk about the contract. These guys add a lot of value. These young dynamic players add a lot of value. We've seen Coby White heat up on a heater in goal streaking, you know what I'm saying, last season to break a record. We seen Coby White just a few weeks ago go out there and with Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, Coby White added 25 points with those two guys, going at least 25 points in that game, and each of those guys hit 5 threes. And that's one of the biggest things that you're going to be able to take away from these two young players. You can talk about Coby White defense. We're not going to say it's great. We're going to say it's competent. That's what we're going to leave it at. It's competent. You see moments of Coby White, you're like, boy, what you doing? Didn't I tell you to put that water hose up and cut that grass? That's how you got to talk to Coby White sometime on defense. But then there are other nights you like, hey, let's go. And you doing a fist pump. Look at Coby. You know what I'm saying? You fist pumping. And you live with it. You live with it. Because on the offensive side, Coby White can light it up. Coby White can light it up. Sometimes it's a bad shot here and there, but I'm wondering if that's just a contribution to how the Bulls want to play. More three-point shots, faster pace, et cetera, et cetera. We know how that looks when it comes to Coby White. And I will say this. The Bulls are absolutely in a weird-ass position. They are in a weird position because you look at the team and you say, yes, we have some veterans on our squad like a Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, but man, do we have an abundance of talent as well. We're talking about your Coby White, your Ayo Dosunmu, your Dalen Terry, your Julian Phillips, your Monty Buzelis, your Josh Giddey's. And you know what I'm saying? More players right there with that youthfulness of those players previously mentioned. Do you give up on that? Or do you strategically move to say, look, we just really want to focus on getting Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic out of here? That's why it comes to the table, and you got to see what is the best available thing out there. We know that the Chicago Bulls are trying to recoup some draft picks. What do those draft picks look like if somebody comes calling for a Coby White or Ayo Dosunmu? It's going to be very, very interesting to hear these things as we get closer and closer and closer to the trade deadline. So it is weird. It is weird because right now, the Chicago Bulls, they still in the mix for the play-in. It is only 21 games. Things obviously can change. But what are we doing here? It's kind of like the question we ask every other day when the Bulls are losing. For real. And the next question, should Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White be considered untouchable? Should they? Will the Bulls consider them untouchable? Me right now, there's only a few, maybe the one untouchable is Montes. Maybe. What if it's some other guys in there, y'all? What if it's some other guys? Will it sound crazy? Just let me know. I just want to get y'all brain going. Just let me know. Will it sound crazy if I was to throw the idea out there that Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry might be untouchable? Will it be crazy? Let me know, because I definitely want to talk a little bit more about that. I do. I really do. I want to come on and with C-Dub and we discuss who's really, really considered untouchable for the Chicago Bulls? Is everybody up for grabs except Montes Buzelis? Or are there a few of your pieces set off to the side to where you like, nah. You know what I'm saying? It's a very interesting thing. But let me know everything and all your thoughts down below. Now, when we talk about those challenges of Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White, I also have to talk about some of the other challenges that the Chicago Bulls might step into as the trade deadline gets closer and closer. In fact, there's some news that we've been hearing about, you know what I'm saying, going around the NBA world, talking about who's up for grabs, who has the most value, and who the Bulls are willing to move off of. From NBA insider Jake Fisher, he reported on the Stein line that the Bulls executives has been in touch with other teams about potential moves ahead of the February 6th NBA trade deadline and are open to moving the majority of their roster, including Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Nikola Vucevic. Fisher goes on to say, and quote, no surprise then that Bulls executives, according to league sources, have been messaging to rival front offices that they are willing to discuss the majority of their roster in trade talks leading up into the trade deadline. Most notably, sources say Chicago has expressed a desire to move Lonzo, Zach, and Vooch, end quote. Very, very interesting coming from Jake Fisher. Just saying. Look, you take it for what it is. You take it for what you will. I will say this. Who's really untouchable? Like, who is really untouchable on this Chicago Bulls roster? Because those challenges, when you talk about, you know what I'm saying, just trying to get the best deals, you got to come to the table and look at what the situation is. Hence why in this discussion, I'm only going to talk about 3 challenges that I'm seeing when at least the Bulls want to have a desire to move Zach, Lonzo, and Vooch. The majority of the roster is up for discussion. But I think some of the bigger challenges for what I believe the Bulls want to do, it's a bit different than the other young players based off some dollars, based off experience years, based off probably not the need of anybody really wanting him right now. So I want to focus on Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, and Nikola Vucevic. We know that the Chicago Bulls right now have set their asking price, or at least their speculation for Nikola Vucevic. The asking price is 2 second-round picks and a young player. But the challenge with trading Nikola Vucevic, obviously, it's going to come down to money. That's the number one starter. We know these billionaires, these NBA owners, yeah, they have spent a little bread, but they also want to keep a lot more bread. You know what I'm saying? They want to keep the whole bakery open and give you a slice. That's how they want to operate. And that's what's going to make this decision tough. Because whatever team that goes out to get Nikola Vucevic, they got to have enough space to absorb the $20 million contract that he's currently, still trying to play out. And when the Bulls say, we want a young, aspiring player, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What's a young, aspiring player? Because the last time I checked, Orlak Batim was a young, aspiring player. He's gone. Marko Simonovic was a young, aspiring player. He's gone. Freeman Liberty was a young, aspiring player that balled out for the Chicago Bulls in Summer League. They let him go. I'm just giving a few examples of what, and I'm pretty sure there's plenty more out there. I'm just saying. It was some young, aspiring players that came on the squad, and we was like, I got a better question. Billy Donovan, Bulls front office. Is Montes Buzelis a young, aspiring player? Y'all don't even want to give him minutes. I'm just saying. I understand the politics that you got to, still play your guys. Still go out here and try to win as many games as possible according to the front office. But is Montes Buzelis not a young, aspiring player? So what are you going to do with even more young, aspiring players? I'm just saying. That's what leaves the question. But I will add on to Vooch. The upside of it is that you're getting the best version of Vooch, especially for the last few seasons. The man is on a heater from the field, from the 3, I seen Nikola Vucevic block a shot this season. I'm just saying. I seen Nikola Vucevic attempt a dunk this season. He missed it though, but I think it was something that negated the dunk, and I was like, "Hey, C-Dub, we ain't gonna be seeing that dunk for another 3 games. So get ready. Tonight's game versus the Brooklyn Nets is the 3rd game since the last time I said that. So let's see if we get the dunk. Now, when we talk about Zach LaVine's and the challenges that come with him, you talk about how Zach LaVine's contract on the back end is crazy. $45 million next year, $48 million the following year. That's what's going to make it difficult for a team that's trying to absorb a contract like this, because some GMs might come to the table and say, look, I see Zach LaVine as being a 2 or 3, and I don't want to pay him $40 million. That's your challenges. Now, that being, the Bulls need some type of leverage to be able to get something good in return. Whatever that leverage is, that's what they have to decide. I don't got too many ideas on it. That's why they get paid. They'll have to figure out what leverage do you have and what deal are you going to take back. I know there's a lot of guys around the league that have been kind of dropping out, missing games and suffering injuries and things like that. Maybe there's some type of leverage that you can utilize. Maybe. That doesn't mean many guys are going to budge off of it. I will say this, though. Zach LaVine has been professional as hell this season. No complaints, coming out, balling out, not taking away from others, playing some defense, some, and getting to the basket at will, doing what he does best. And the best thing of it all, he looks healthy. He's been healthy, hasn't missed a game. He's been straight. Now, when it comes to Lonzo Ball challenges, oh my goodness. The plus side of it, the plus side to Lonzo is that he got 1 year left on his deal. That's the plus side. The negative side is that the 1 year left on the deal is the $21 million that they got to absorb for this season. He's a free agent after this season. So is this something that you want to acquire just to say, hey, we're going to have Lonzo Ball on for the rest of this year? Or are you saying that we're going to use this as a salary dump, or a little bit of both? And then for a team that takes on Lonzo Ball, are you going to be willing to give up draft picks for only play 20 games? So 62 games, 60, we played 21 games, so 61 games left. Is that going to be good enough? So those are the challenges that these guys are going to have to overcome or try to work their ways through. And that's the money, the age. What is the return that I got to give up for these players? And for the Chicago Bulls, does the deal make sense? It's a lot of challenges, and those are some big ones for me. Those are some big ones for sure, because a lot of people been pushing away Zach LaVine for a while now, for sure. So we'll see. We'll see. But before we get up out of here, got to talk about tonight's game. The Chicago Bulls, they face off versus the Brooklyn Nets. The Bulls sit at 8-13, while the Nets sit at 9-12. The Bulls are coming off 2 losses. The Nets are coming off 2 losses. So both teams are trying to get a win. Are they? Is this a tankathon game? Is this a tank game for just one side or both? Let me know. I don't know. But I do know that when the last time the teams faced off in November, the Bulls lost. The Bulls lost. So would the Bulls come out here and try to get a win tonight? I hope they do. I at least want to get as many wins as I can get before, you know what I'm saying, they say, all right, to hell with everything, and here come a new rush of young players that's just going to be jacking shots, and we don't know if they're going to be able to do anything. You know what I'm saying? But you take those risks. It's a risky business. You take those risks when you're trying to be a productive organization. And the Bulls need to be a productive organization because we tired of this shit. Tired of this shit. Now, on the Brooklyn Nets side, we're looking at 2 guys who've been balling all season. We're talking about Dennis Schroeder and Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, the leading scorer for the Brooklyn Nets, and he can drop 40 tonight if the Bulls let him. You know what I'm saying? And Dennis Schroeder, he's always kind of been like that player who's a little agitator for the Chicago Bulls. But we'll see what that maps out to. I know my players. I hope they coming ready to play. Me personally, I want to see Montes Buzelis, but we know it's a cold Monday. Billy Donovan might roll over and say, Montes getting 4 minutes today. Unless he has a good cup of coffee and say, hey, I'm going to get Montes 15 minutes today. It can go either way. But I'm anxious to see him. I want to see a little bit more of Dalen Terry. I just want to see my guys go out there and ball. Y'all let me know your predictions down below. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Chicago Bulls win the game. Win the game. I say the Chicago Bulls win this game tonight. I say they win it by 7 points. Yes, 7. I'm that specific. I'm putting it on wax. So you put it on wax down below as well. But that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Shy Bulls Podcast. Go ahead and leave your feedback, your thoughts, and comments, everything down below. Hit the like button, subscribe before you get up out of here. Y'all already know. I appreciate y'all. So I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Cognac. Gang.